Bright Cutie. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. Let's start our new topic here of chapter number 1, that is Rise of Nationalism in Europe. So our next topic here is the movement in Hungary. Now students, before this we talked about the unification of Italy. So by now you have learnt about the rise of nationalism, the influence of culture in the rise of nationalism, and unification of Germany and Italy. So how did that happen and who all were involved in this whole process? Now here let us try to understand the movement that took place in Hungary. Okay, so that was in the year 1848 and after that. Now when we are talking about Hungary, now this is a place that we have already learnt about. But here we will take the name or the umbrella term, that is the Habsburg Empire. So the term that has been used by historians to denote the House of Habsburgs. Now through map, let us understand that what was this region or the Habsburg Empire or the House of Habsburg. Then we'll move on to our topic here. Now look at this map here students. This is the map of Habsburg Empire comprising the regions of Austria, Hungary, then Croatia, Slavonia and so on. So you'll find Bohemia and so on, right? So you can find so many regions here, different dynasties who were ruling in this empire. Look at the boundary line that I am drawing here. And these were some of the nationalities, right? The dynasties that were under the Habsburg Empire. And that is why we are going to talk about the two most powerful empire here, that is the Austria and the Hungary. Okay? So, talking about the Austrian Empire here, Austrian Empire consisted of a number of races speaking different languages. Yes, let us go back to our map here again. Look at this map. So in this map, let us have a look to this region. The Habsburg Empire, the Austrian Empire. So basically the same thing here. The umbrella term has been used. In this we see that in the Austrian Empire, there were different regions and different people from different races, ethnicities. They were living in this region, speaking different languages. Okay? Now, new Austrian emperor, whose name was Francis Joseph, he faced the revolt of Hungary in 1848. Under whom? Under Kossuth, who declared his country independent. Quite important point here. Now, this is the image of the Austrian emperor, whose name was Francis Joseph. Now, he faced this revolt. Revolt of whom? The Hungarians, who were demanding to get their country independent in the year 1848. And all this happened under the leadership of Kossuth. Quite important point here. Kossuth. Okay. So it happened under the leadership of Kossuth, who was a political reformer. He was a lot of things. He was a political reformer, lawyer, governor president and so on. But he led the masses and he declared his country independent. Okay. Here let us have a look at this map again. This is the region of Hungary. This is the region of Austria. Now Hungarians, they did not want to be under the Austrian Empire and they were demanding independence for their own region, and that is why they were fighting against the Austrians. So this is an important point that you have to keep in mind here. Afterwards, what happened? The Austrians, they now suppressed the newly won independence of Hungary in the year 1849. Now what did we learn here? In the year 1848, the Hungarians, they won independence. But again, within a year, in 1849, the Austrians, they were quite powerful and they defeated or suppressed the newly won independence. What was the reason behind it? Because the Hungarians, they treated the Slav population badly. Now here this is a new term for you, that is Slav. What do we mean by this term Slav? So in simple terms, Slav group was the ethnic group and they belonged to the Indo-European groups. They shared a common cultural identity belonging to the region or the group of Indo-Europeans. So all these people, the Slav people, they were living in this region, right? And Austrians, they observed that the Hungarians, they were treating them badly. And that is why they wanted to suppress the newly gained independence of Hungary. But by the year 1860, there was a change. Now what was this change? The Austrians could not hold to Hungary under their iron rule. What happened here? The Hungarians were revolting again and again. Why? Because they wanted their independence. But by the year 1860, Austrians, they realized that they could not hold the independence of Hungary. Therefore, they drew up a charter and restored Hungary's independence. Quite important point here. Since they were not able to hold their independence, so they gave up. That the parliament was given back to the Hungarians. Now, I have told you earlier, when we are talking about the Parliament of India, we talk about two houses, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Here, when we are talking about the Parliament of Hungary, the name that is given here is Diet. So keep that in mind here. Now this is the image illustrating the Parliament of Hungary, that is Diet. Okay. Autonomy to towns and cities was also given. So all these regions, the small cities and towns, they were also given some kind of freedom. But was that sufficient for the Hungarians? No. They were not satisfied with all these provisions and they wanted complete independence. So what happened? By the year 1866, now going back to the unification of Germany, we saw that by 1866 they fought a lot of wars and these wars were also against Austria, right? So Prussia, they defeated Austria, right? You must remember this. So Prussia defeated Austria in 1866. Now Austria was not that powerful and therefore they had to compromise with the Hungarians. So finally in the year 1867, a lot of changes took place. The first one here is Austria-Hungary had a common ruler whose name was King Francis Joseph. And quite important point here, that is dual monarchy. Dual means two. Monarchy, you know, rule of the monarch. Now these are not new terms for you. You must know all these terms. There was a single ruler, but here we see that Austria and Hungary, they had two monarchs here, dual monarchy system. So this was a major change that happened in the year 1867. Another change was that both states were now considered equal. Quite important point that Austria and Hungary, we know that Austria was more powerful, right? And they wanted to suppress the Hungarians. But here, both the states, they were considered equal. The third point is, they had two separate parliaments and a joint ministry for three important departments. Now, what were these departments? Finance, war and foreign affairs. Yes, we now know that there was a dual monarchy, right? And there were two separate parliaments. Therefore, there were two separate parliaments, but they had a joint ministry. From both these states, there was a joint ministry for three departments here: finance, war, and foreign affairs. So, let me clear this for you and we'll observe the map here. See, this is the boundary that I am talking about. The region of Austria and Hungary. Okay, dual monarchy that prevailed in this region. This is Austria, this is Hungary, all these regions as you can see here. But what were the consequences of the imposed dual monarchy? Was it good for Austria and Hungary? No, students. It was not that great. Why? Because dual monarchy disturbed the political balance of this region. Now imagine there are two monarchs and they have different opinions, different decisions, but at the same time, both the states are considered equal. So there was a chaotic situation there, and therefore it disturbed the political balance in this region. Apart from this, the administration of Slavs were handed over to them, and Serbia wanted to unite all the Slavs under their leadership. Now, this is another point that was responsible for the political imbalance. Now, why was that? Because here, let us have a look at this map again. We have talked about the Slavs. Now, who were the Slavs? The Slavs were the Indo-European. They belonged to this Indo-European group, right? And they shared some culture, identity, speaking same language, or they had a long history of common culture. Okay? So, it involved a lot of regions here, a lot of groups or races. Here you can see the Slavic groups. In this region, we find the Slavic groups, right? Now, what did Serbia want? Look at the map again. Here, this is the region of Serbia, okay? So, Serbia, they wanted to unite all Slavs under them, right? So, this became the reason for fight, and somehow it led to the First World War. Now, that you are going to learn later on, but here, it led to the breakup of these into small Balkan states. Now, they were fighting among themselves for the Slavs, right? The Slav race here. So, here we see that it led to the breakup into small Balkan states. Now, these are the small Balkan states about which we will learn later. So, keep in mind here. Now, these are the regions I am pointing out. It led to the breakup of this region into small Balkan states. Okay? So, this was all about the movement in Hungary that started in the year 1848 and it ended up with the imposition of dual monarchy. So, one of the most important questions that can be asked here is that, and it has been asked in the long answer questions here. Describe the events that led to the dual monarchy in Hungary. What were its consequences? Quite important. And in this whole video, you have learnt about this part, about the dual monarchy in Hungary and what were the consequences. Now, this is a long answer question, students. Therefore, you have to write a detailed answer, but it should be very much precise to the point. So, first point that can be included here is Austrian Empire had subjects belonging to different races and speaking different languages. We learned it, right? Now, bad treatment of Slavs by Hungarians led the Austrians to suppress its independence when? In the year 1849. Then in the year 1860, they realized that Hungary could not be ruled or kept under their iron rule, and therefore in 1866 defeat of Austria by Prussia, it led to a compromise with Hungarians. Quite important point here, because it was only after this that in the year 1867 dual monarchy was imposed. Right? So here you have to keep that in mind, that what happened in 1866 that led to the dual monarchy in Hungary. So these points can be answered in the first section of the question. Now what were its consequences? Now once there was a dual monarchy in Austria-Hungary, here we see that there were two separate parliaments, joint ministry for three important departments, finance, war and foreign affairs. Then the consequences were that it disturbed the political balance of this region, gave the administration of Slavs to them, and Serbia wanted to unite all the Slavs under them, and somehow it became one of the reasons for the First World War that happened in the year 1914. Now apart from this, it also led to the breakup of the small number of Balkan states. So the whole region now was divided in the small number of Balkan states. So this would be your answer for the second part of this question, as in what were the consequences of the dual monarchy. Thank you.